September 15th, 2025. Stick with me. This is important and I'll try to be brief. So I covered this years ago when it was first announced. Okay, the FDA back in February of 2023 submit a warning. Okay, warning about a product that aluminum levels were too high. So saying infants at risk for aluminum toxicity with unapproved potassium phosphate drug products. Now let's go back to the original warning. The FDA is warning healthcare professionals and pharmacies to avoid using Hospira's unapproved potassium phosphate drug product in pediatric patients because the aluminum exposure from this product is unsafe for this population. So what are the dangerous levels of the aluminum? Well, if we go down to what it says the FDA's guidance includes a recommendation that the total allowable aluminum exposure from parenteral nutrition should not exceed 5 micrograms per kilogram per day. Why? Because exposures above those levels can lead to toxic levels of aluminum, which can lead to the softening of the bone, reduced bone mineralization, neurological dysfunction, microcytic hypochromatic anemia or hypochromic anemia, and reduction or stoppage of bile flow. Okay, this is so important that they've doubled down on this warning because hospitals didn't take heed. So in August of 2024, they sent out another warning saying, hey, we remain concerned about this aluminum toxicity associated with the use of this product because it's come to our attention that hospitals are continuing to give this to children. Okay. Now, it's so important that the American Academy of Pediatrics also shared this warning about this, okay, saying that this product is only good for kids that are at least 40 kilograms or adults weighing at least 45 kilograms. That's about 100 pounds, okay? And again, saying that you should not go above 5 micrograms of aluminum per kilogram per day. Now, this is a big deal. And yes, because I'm going to tell you vaccines have orders of magnitude greater exposure of micrograms per kilogram per day of aluminum. Why is this a big deal? Let's look at the clearance rates. What this is talking about is intravenous exposure of that aluminum. And when we compare clearance rates of aluminum adjuvant between intramuscular injection, which vaccines are, versus intravenous exposure, which that nutrition is, it's a very stark difference in how quickly the aluminum enters and leaves the bloodstream. Okay, intramuscular injection is used in vaccination because they want it to stick around. Okay, it is a slow, long-term release when injected aluminum is given through intramuscular. It's designed to have what's called a depot effect, remaining in the site of injection to provide sustained immune response. Okay. A very slow clearance rate. So very slow total clearance. A 28-day study in rabbits found that less than 5% of the injected aluminum hydroxide adjuvant had been cleared from the body, indicating a very slow overall clearance rate compared to IV administration. So they're sending out this massive warning about aluminum toxicity when given in a route that's rapidly cleared from the body, okay, through IV. However, with vaccines, it sticks around and it stays, meaning the aluminum toxicity is greater in vaccines, okay? So intramuscular injection and long-term retention rates of aluminum, it sticks around. It's not let go quickly. And so it not only does it stays forever because it's not degradable. Once inside the cells, so first of all, upon injection, aluminum adjuvant particles in vaccines are rapidly phagocytosed by immune cells, like the macrophages and the dendritic cells at the injection site. The initial uptake is crucial for the adjuvant's function as it facilitates the presentation of vaccine adjuvant antigens to the immune system. However, once inside the cell, aluminum-based adjuvants are largely non-degradable. This is key reason for their biopersistence. Unlike other substances that can be broken down and eliminated, aluminum-based aluminum-based adjuvants tend to remain captured within the phagocytic cell for extended periods, from months to even years. And studies have shown that these particles can form persistent intracellular aggregates within the macrophage. One, because its non-solubility. Aluminum hydroxide, a common aluminum-based adjuvant, is highly insoluble in the neutral pH of the cell's cytoplasm. While it can be solubilized in the acidic environment of a lysosome, the crystalline structure of the adjuvant can sometimes disrupt the lysosomal membrane, preventing its breakdown. And then it just continues to be recycled. When a phagocytic cell loaded with aluminum particle dies, its cellular debris, including the non-degradable aluminum, is re-phagocytosed by other scavenger cells. This process, often described as the Trojan horse mechanism, allows aluminum particles to continuously pass from one cell to another, maintaining their presence within the body long term. So, if dangerous levels of aluminum are higher than 5 micrograms per kilogram per day, the average 2-month-old baby is about 5 kilograms. Okay? So the maximum that child should ever be exposed to aluminum is going to be 25 micrograms a day, maximum. However, if you look at the levels of aluminum micrograms a baby is exposed to at birth, the hepatitis B shot, 250 micrograms. That's 10 times above the maximum exposure it should ever get. And then 2 months old, 1,225 micrograms of aluminum. That's 49 times higher, above the quote-unquote maximum safe level. And there's no safe level. 975 at 4 months, 1,000 at 6 months. Each time you're getting 40 to 50 times the safe level for about 5,000 micrograms in the first 18 months. And as we just saw, the retention rate is high and the clearance rate is slow. But get this, the FDA says, again, let's go back to this, the recommended safe limit is 4 to 5 micrograms per kilogram per day for total aluminum exposure for intravenous nutrition products. This limit is specifically intended to protect vulnerable individuals such as premature infants and patients with impaired kidney function. And young infants don't have primed kidney function yet. So they tell you why it's so dangerous, but then put this little caveat here and say, well, the FDA also sets limits for aluminum in vaccines, which are injected into the muscle, not the bloodstream. Because absorption is slower, the aluminum from vaccines is processed differently from intravenous aluminum, and that 4 to 5 micrograms per kilogram per day is not applicable to vaccines. However, logic would tell us that if aluminum is a known neurotoxin, which it is, and the retention is high and clearance is low and slow through intramuscular injection, what we're telling you is that you're injecting a very potent neurotoxin into your baby in a manner in which it's going to stick around longer and have a stronger effect over the years. Okay, and check this out. Aluminum salts, which are what is in vaccines, are recognized neurotoxins, primarily contributing to neurodegenerative diseases through mechanisms like oxidative stress, inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and cytoskeletal abnormalities. Exposure, especially chronic, which when it's injected into the muscle creates a chronic exposure, can lead to accumulation of harmful proteins in the brain, affecting cognitive functions and promoting the development of conditions such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Aluminum exerts its neurotoxic effects through several pathways. Number one, oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species, neuroinflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, cytoskeletal abnormalities, protein aggregation, endoplasmic reticulum stress. It goes on and on. The point of this is they pick and choose how they warn, including the American Academy of Pediatrics. They know these levels are incredibly toxic and damaging to these kids, but they give vaccines a free pass, when in reality, vaccines are a much more potent, long-term, chronic exposure to these aluminum salts, which is neurotoxic. The end.